Have you ever wondered what hidden forces drive a dog to traverse hundreds of miles through an unforgiving Arctic landscape, where glacial winds batter every step? Sheet ice threatens to consume entire teams, and endless night obscures any sense of direction, simply to deliver a life-saving medicine for a remote community clinging to hope. Even though those he saves will never know his face, please subscribe to our channel and show your support, so we can continue sharing remarkable stories of tenacity and devotion. Your subscription empowers us to uncover even more awe-inspiring tales that spark resilience and admiration across the globe. Togo is often overshadowed by the more publicly celebrated Balto. Yet among many historians, dog enthusiasts, and Alaskans, he is widely regarded as the true hero of the 1925 Serum run. Guided by legendary musher Leonard Seppala, Togo led the team that covered the longest and most perilous stretch of the relay to deliver precious diphtheria antitoxin to the isolated town of Nome. Although he never received the same level of acclaim in mainstream media, Togo's story epitomizes perseverance, teamwork, and loyalty under the harshest conditions imaginable. From the outset, Togo was an unlikely candidate for greatness. Born with health issues and a somewhat rebellious streak, he appeared the least promising pup in the litter. Initially, Leonard Seppala even considered giving Togo away. The young dog often displayed a penchant for sneaking out and following Seppala's sled, much to the musher's annoyance. Yet Togo's insistent behavior soon revealed a fierce determination and uncanny intelligence that would transform him from troublemaker to invaluable lead dog. As Togo grew, so did his reputation for exceptional endurance and leadership. Seppala discovered that Togo possessed an almost preternatural ability to read terrain and anticipate danger. Whether crossing thin ice or navigating whiteout conditions, Togo guided the team with a calm sense of certainty, inspiring confidence in fellow dogs and musher alike. This bond between dog and man, tested countless times on training runs, would prove critical during the crisis in Nome. In January 1925, a deadly diphtheria outbreak threatened to decimate the children of the remote town, with flights grounded by freezing weather and nautical routes blocked by ice. The only solution was to transport vital antitoxin by dog-led relay. Over 20 mushers and at least 150 dogs participated, each relay leg fraught with sub-zero winds and snowstorms that reduced visibility to almost nothing. The entire operation demanded not just raw courage, but also meticulous coordination under extreme time pressure. Leonard Seppala and Togo were entrusted with one of the most difficult segments of the Serum run, a treacherous path that included crossing the frozen Norton Sound, notorious for its shifting ice and deadly winds. In some stretches, temperatures plunged to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, while gale-force gusts threatened to knock sleds off course. The relentless cold stiffened harnesses, froze water supplies, and left men and animals alike teetering on the brink of exhaustion. Through it all, Togo remained steady, leading Seppala's team with ironclad resilience that would later become the stuff of legend. Despite these punishing conditions, Togo's segment covered a remarkable distance of roughly 260 miles, far more than any other sled dog in the relay. At one point, when the ice of Norton Sound began cracking ominously beneath them, Togo guided the team at a breakneck pace, deftly avoiding newly formed fissures. The slightest miscalculation could have plunged every member of the team into frigid water. Seppala's trust in Togo's instincts proved well-founded as they successfully navigated the ice, maintaining a speed that would have been impossible with a less capable lead dog. This perilous journey showcased Togo's remarkable stamina. He was already 12 years old at the time, considered senior for a sled dog, and was shouldering burdens that would challenge younger, fresher animals. Yet Togo pushed on, refusing to yield to age or the relentless polar night. His tenacity allowed Seppala's team to cut precious hours off their route, bringing the Serum closer to Nome in record time. Time was of the essence. Many children lay gravely ill, and each lost minute could mean one more life slipping away. Throughout the Serum run, the mushers executed an intricate handoff system, passing the antitoxin from one sled team to another. While scores of courageous dogs contributed, Togo's stretch was, by many accounts, the most taxing. By the end, he had transported the Serum over such a vast portion of the route that historians often credit him as the single greatest canine hero of the mission. However, a twist of fate saw Balto, who completed the final, shorter leg, receiving most of the acclaim in the national press. When news of the life-saving Serum run reached the broader public, sensational headlines and dramatic storytelling seized on Balto's culminating dash into Nome, making him an overnight celebrity. Togo, having run the far more grueling course, did not appear in the mainstream limelight, largely due to Leonard Seppala's subdued personality and less media-friendly approach. Nevertheless, those intimately familiar with the run recognized Togo's indispensable role, regarding him with reverence that endures among sled dog aficionados to this day. In the aftermath, Togo's achievements still emerged in specialized articles and local tributes. His legacy, however, took time to reach wider audiences. Mushers spoke in awe of the dog's uncanny intuition and near-magical stamina, often citing examples of how Togo could sense cracks in the ice or detect the safest path during whiteouts. This high-level canine sensitivity was no accident. It was nurtured through years of trust and partnership. Seppala always credited Togo's instincts, claiming that the dog's innate ability to lead the pack was essential to their success. Beyond the Serum run, Togo continued to demonstrate his prowess on other expeditions, further solidifying his reputation as one of the most extraordinary sled dogs in history. Seppala, who was among the best-known mushers in Alaska, once described Togo as the best dog that ever traveled the Alaska Trail. Such praise from a man as seasoned and respected as Seppala spoke volumes about Togo's unique talents. Scholars of the era, documenting Alaskan sledding culture, often cited Togo's story as a prime example of how symbiotic the relationship between man and lead dog could become. Years after the Serum run, Seppala took Togo on tours to showcase his capabilities, hoping to dispel the myth that Balto had single-handedly saved Nome. While Balto's final stretch was undoubtedly courageous, Seppala maintained that Togo had endured the hardest leg of the relay. The touring years raised Togo's profile, but never to the level of Balto's widespread acclaim. To many who revered Togo, the disparity in fame was a minor injustice, one that would only be rectified long after Togo had passed away. Togo spent his final years primarily in comfort, though still active enough to breed future generations of skilled sled dogs. His lineage would go on to influence the genetic lines of Alaskan Huskies for decades. Many of today's top sled dogs trace part of their ancestry to Togo's bloodline, inheriting that enviable mix of intelligence, endurance, and calm leadership in hazardous conditions. In this sense, Togo's legacy transcended his own lifetime, shaping the evolution of the very breed that still competes in long-distance races like the Iditarod. When Togo passed away in December 1929 at around 16 years of age, his death was met with profound respect from those who knew his story. Some accounts tell of mushers shedding tears for the dog who had guided them through mortal peril on more than one occasion. Others recalled how Togo's unwavering gaze and poised demeanor had been a source of courage for everyone around him. His body was preserved and later displayed at various institutions, allowing future generations a chance to connect with the tangible remains of a dog that seemed almost mythical. In the broader cultural narrative, Togo's story might have faded if not for dedicated historians, dog lovers, and Alaskans who refused to let his memory lapse. Over time, interest in the Serum run soared. Documentaries and books began recounting the full tale rather than the simplified version that had once dominated headlines. Scholars highlighted how Togo's contributions were enormous, involving the longest and most harrowing stretches. This renewed attention spurred a re-evaluation of how heroism is recognized and commemorated, revealing an underlying truth. History is often shaped by who tells the story, and Togo's moment in the spotlight had initially been eclipsed. Decades later, Togo's legacy garnered a new wave of appreciation, particularly after the turn of the 21st century. Museums, wildlife centers, and even popular media began referencing him more frequently. A 2019 live-action film named Togo, produced by Disney, introduced broader audiences to his undertold story. While creative liberties were taken, the film emphasized Togo's unwavering spirit, intelligence, and the close bond he shared with Sapala. For many viewers, this portrayal provided a more balanced understanding of the Serum run, one in which Togo's Herculean efforts could no longer be ignored. Yet Togo's significance transcends any single medium. His life illuminates the broader lessons of collaboration, valor, and humility. The Serum run itself was a collective achievement requiring multiple teams and countless dogs. Togo's heroic journey was integral to that collective success, functioning as a cornerstone of the entire operation. Indeed, without Togo's formidable push across the Norton Sound, the Serum might not have arrived in time to save the sick children of Nome. These reflections on Togo's exploits offer us more than a historical anecdote. They provide a moral compass, reminding us how selflessness and dedication can flourish in dire circumstances. Alaska, as a rugged frontier, shapes the stories of those who dwell there, whether human or canine. Togo's saga unfolds against a backdrop of piercing cold, tundrous storms, and frosty isolation. It was an environment that tested every fiber of his being, pushing him to levels of resilience rarely witnessed. The state's natural challenges became both stage and antagonist, highlighting how extraordinary Togo's feats truly were. In the process, Togo became an icon of Alaska's frontier legacy, representing an unbreakable bond between human explorers and the dogs that carry them across brutal landscapes. From a historical perspective, the 1925 Serum run is often cited as a defining moment in Alaska's narrative. It blended life and death urgency with the timeless romance of sled dogs forging pathways through snowdrifts and ice floes. Although Balto was catapulted to stardom, Togo's dedicated following championed the nuance that one dog's heroics did not negate another's. Each sled team contributed in distinct ways. Togo's supporters insisted that ignoring his role skewed the truth of the Serum run's epic scale. Thanks to them, Togo's place in the pantheon of canine legends is now more secure than ever. Beyond Alaska, Togo's story resonates with global audiences. Tales of courage have universal appeal, and Togo's narrative is no exception. He symbolizes the extraordinary sacrifices that animals can make for the well-being of people, an undercurrent that cuts across cultures and geographies. The personal connections between Togo and Sapala underscore how trust, loyalty, and shared purpose can transcend species boundaries. In an era where technology shapes daily life, Togo's feats remain awe-inspiring proof that partnership between man and dog can accomplish what machines and modern infrastructure sometimes cannot. Today, Togo's memory lives on in various forms. Educational programs about the Serum run now include Togo's role, ensuring that younger generations receive a fuller picture of events. Travel guides, museums, and historical societies highlight Togo's achievements alongside those of Balto and the other dogs, correcting earlier one-dimensional narratives. This inclusion not only fosters historical accuracy, but also exemplifies how re-examining the past can inspire future acts of service, love, and fortitude. Critically, Togo represents a moment when courage was demanded in the face of overwhelming odds, and he rose to meet it without hesitation. That spirit echoes in modern times whenever communities band together to overcome calamities. Whether facing pandemics, natural disasters, or humanitarian crises, we can look back at Togo's unwavering stand on the ice of Norton Sound. His example reminds us that perseverance against the harshest conditions is indeed possible, provided there is enough unity and moral resolve guiding each step. In discussing Togo's story, it's also essential to remember that sled dogs like him are more than animals bred for labor. They're companions that share a deeply interwoven life with their human counterparts. For indigenous communities in Alaska, sled dogs had long been indispensable for travel, hunting, and daily survival. Togo's brilliance was not an anomaly. Rather, it was the apex of a tradition in which dogs function as both helpers and guardians. This long-standing relationship added layers of cultural significance to Togo's role in the Serum run, reflecting a collaborative dynamic passed down through generations. From a physiological standpoint, Togo's feats intrigued researchers and dog enthusiasts alike. The dog's ability to run extraordinarily long distances under extreme cold without succumbing to exhaustion or frostbite raised questions about canine endurance, muscle composition, and metabolic efficiency. Studies on sled dogs in the decades after the Serum run highlighted how Togo's performance was emblematic of the husky's genetic predisposition for high stamina, thick fur insulation, and remarkable mental focus under stress. Understanding these attributes became key to advancing both veterinary science and sled dog breeding programs. Despite his overshadowed reputation, Togo stands as a testament to the fact that fame does not always reflect the full measure of heroism. While Balto's statue in Central Park has welcomed countless admirers, Togo's story was preserved by those who valued authentic narratives over sensational headlines. In that sense, Togo's legacy transcended momentary glory, rooting itself in the hearts of sledding experts and historians who could appreciate the unsung labor that shaped the Serum run's success. Over time, as the historical record balanced out, Togo emerged not as an underdog, but as a central figure, albeit one who walked a quieter path to recognition. The question of why Togo did not capture immediate national attention also sheds light on society's tendency to condense complex events into simple heroes. Balto's final dash was more cinematic, providing a clear, triumphant endpoint for journalists to celebrate. Togo's accomplishments were woven into the broader fabric of a much longer and more treacherous journey. The nuance of multiple handoffs, extended distances, and the intricate coordination among many teams did not lend itself to a single, easily packaged headline. Consequently, history's initial telling omitted crucial details that only later came to light. Over the years, various journalists, authors, and documentary filmmakers have revisited the 1925 Serum run to set the record straight. Through archival research, interviews with descendants of original mushers, and a careful reading of personal diaries, they piece together how indispensable Togo's role truly was. These renewed efforts underscored that Sapala and Togo had traversed the lion's share of the route, enduring peril that others did not face. By the time modern audiences learned of Togo's feats, the overshadowed hero had become a compelling figure, even more captivating because he was once nearly forgotten. Togo's journey also resonates in today's dog sled racing culture, especially events like the Iditarod. While the race is not an exact recreation of the Serum run route, it pays homage to the grit and teamwork exemplified by Togo and others. Elite mushers who compete in the Iditarod often highlight Togo's story as an enduring inspiration. They draw parallels between the historical urgency of delivering medicine to Nome and their own experiences racing against time and weather. Togo stands as an emblem of canine valor that transcends mere competition, reminding racers of the deep-rooted heritage behind their sport. This lineage can also be traced to the breeding lines that link modern sled dogs back to Togo. Descendants of Togo often exhibit certain trademark traits: a penchant for leadership, calm under pressure, and a high tolerance for cold. While genetics alone cannot replicate Togo's intangible qualities, his offspring frequently displayed a predilection for forging ahead in treacherous conditions. This phenomenon fascinates breeders, who see in Togo's bloodline the potential to preserve and refine the classic Alaskan sled dog, one that marries mental acuity with physical prowess. To many animal behaviorists, Togo's fierce loyalty to Sapala underscores the profound emotional capacities of dogs. Accounts speak of how Togo would act as if second-guessing the musher's commands whenever he sensed a danger on the ice, essentially making decisions that save the team. Critics might argue that attributing such cognition to a dog borders on anthropomorphism. Yet anecdotal evidence from the Serum run paints a portrait of an animal whose instincts went beyond basic training. Togo's story thus becomes a reference point in discussions about canine intelligence, emotional bonding, and the extraordinary synergy possible between species. Public memory of Togo, once relegated to niche discussions among sled dog circles, began to shift dramatically after the release of various documentaries and films. Presentations on the Serum run now commonly highlight Togo's role, offering a more nuanced account. Museums around Alaska display tributes and exhibits featuring Togo, replete with photographs, musher testimonials, and historical paraphernalia. These efforts help correct the historical oversight, ensuring that Togo's name resonates alongside Balto's in the collective consciousness of those who look back on that fateful winter of 1925. For the people of Nome, Togo's achievements have never been in question. Oral histories passed down through families reflect a deep gratitude for all the dogs that braved the trail, with Togo singled out for his especially pivotal role. Local commemorations sometimes include short reenactments or educational programs, teaching schoolchildren about the Serum crisis and how Togo's endurance was a linchpin. In these local narratives, Togo emerges not just as a dog, but as a guardian who came through in the darkest hour, reaffirming that heroism can spring from the most unassuming corners of the animal kingdom. Though nearly a century has passed since Togo galloped across the Alaskan wilderness with vials of antitoxin strapped to his sled, his story remains deeply relevant. Modern crises, whether medical or environmental, still demand coordinated efforts and unwavering resolve. Togo reminds us that extraordinary times call for extraordinary responses that often hinge on cooperation and trust. In an era dominated by technological marvels, Togo's example illustrates that sometimes an animal's heart and instincts can accomplish what machines cannot, forging connections that transcend conventional human limits. Despite Togo's advanced age at the time of the Serum run, he displayed physical endurance that seemed almost superhuman. Long stretches of the route exposed the team to the biting lash of Arctic wind, where frostbite could set in within minutes. Yet Togo's thick double coat and unstoppable spirit propelled him to the next checkpoint. Along the way, Sapala ensured the dog received the best possible care. They paused only for brief rests, feeding Togo and the other dogs warm broth to maintain their strength. This synergy of care, respect, and shared ambition exemplified the unique bonds that define sledding culture. In telling Togo's life story, one cannot overlook the quieter intervals, those moments between high-stakes journeys when he simply existed as Sapala's companion. Anecdotes describe Togo as both mischievous and affectionate, possessing an undeniable charm that won over even those who initially doubted him. He loved to wrestle with younger dogs, teaching them their place in the pack, and was known for a playful spark in his eye that belied his age. Such glimpses of Togo's personality remind us that heroes are rarely solemn statues. They are living beings with quirks, affections, and a zest for life. While Togo was never showered with the pomp and celebrity afforded to Balto, his spirit endures in the hearts of those who prize authenticity in heroic tales. Togo's story is one of quiet competence and unwavering dedication, qualities that often go unnoticed in a world dazzled by dramatic finales and singular personalities. Yet as the collective understanding of the 1925 Serum run has grown, Togo has emerged as a counterbalance to a narrative once dominated by a single name. Each dog, each musher, contributed a piece to the puzzle, and Togo's piece was nothing short of critical. Leonard Sepala, reflecting on Togo's life, would often proclaim that no other dog could match Togo's spirit on the trail. This was high praise indeed from a man who spent much of his existence in the company of some of the finest sled dogs in Alaska. In letters and interviews, Sepala emphasized that Togo seemed to sense shifts in the ice or subtle changes in wind patterns, acting before any human could, whether one attributes that to uncanny instinct or advanced training. The result was the same. Togo saved lives. Today, Togo's descendants continue the sledding tradition, some competing in modern races and others serving in smaller local capacities. They inherit not just genetic markers, but also a storied legacy that confers a sense of lineage and pride. Mushers who know their dogs carry Togo's blood often speak of it as an inheritance of resilience, a silent pledge to keep pushing through the worst conditions. Guided by the ancestral memory of a dog that once ran across a fragile sea of ice to save a distant town's children. Across time, Togo's story has grown into a testament to the quiet hero, the one who does the hardest work without standing in the final spotlight. Though overshadowed at first, Togo eventually found recognition among those who earnestly sought the truth. This echoes in everyday life, reminding us that real heroism is often collective, fueled by many small acts of courage converging in a single purpose. Togo's unwavering stride across the Alaskan tundra is a metaphor for all such acts, whether performed by dogs, humans, or entire communities. Additionally, Togo's tale underscores the limitations of instant media narratives. When word of the Serum run spread, it was convenient to hail the final team crossing the finish line. Yet the real saga was more sprawling, involving complicated logistics, multiple handoffs, and extraordinary dogs like Togo who traversed hundreds of miles unseen. In a sense, Togo's story is a reminder that quick headlines sometimes omit the deeper layers of truth. Even now, as digital media accelerates the news cycle, Togo's experience stands as a cautionary tale about oversimplifying complex events. The restoration of Togo's legacy also amplifies themes of gratitude. Nome's residents, who directly benefited from the Serum run, always knew the debt they owed to the dogs and mushers. Their stories, passed down through generations, reflect a profound respect for the animals that delivered them from catastrophe. In many households, Togo's name was spoken with reverence, an emblem of how adversity can forge unbreakable bonds. Long after the crisis, that gratitude persisted, shaping local traditions, school lessons, and the moral fabric of the region. Balancing the focus between Togo and Balto ultimately enriches the narrative of the 1925 Serum run. It underscores that multiple forms of heroism can coexist and that acknowledging one does not diminish the other. Balto's final dash was undeniably brave, but Togo's extended ordeal laid the foundation for that grand finale. Similarly, numerous mushers, including the indigenous Alaskans who first mastered sled travel, deserve recognition for their instrumental roles. Togo's renewed prominence helps illuminate this fuller panorama, an ensemble of heroes working in concert to save innocent lives. With every retelling, Togo's memory grows more vivid, branching out from the niche of Alaskan lore to enter the global imagination. Museums and cultural centers now feature Togo in displays about canine bravery, while annual ceremonies in Nome pay homage to all the participants of the Serum run. Social media discussions often highlight Togo's story as a prime example of how historical narratives can evolve once more facts come to light. In turn, contemporary audiences, enthralled by the idea of a steadfast husky forging across an Arctic wasteland, find inspiration in Togo's unwavering resolve. For visitors to Alaska today, traces of Togo's journey can still be found. Some intrepid travelers follow parts of the Iditarod Trail, seeking to recreate a fraction of the endurance test Togo once conquered. Local guides share anecdotes passed down through family lines, weaving a tapestry of natural wonder and historical depth. Standing in the piercing cold and gazing at the same unyielding horizon that Togo faced, modern adventurers may gain a deeper appreciation for his feat. Each snow-laden mile underscores just how extraordinary it was for a single dog, well into his senior years, to accomplish what Togo did. Such reflections carry a timeless moral. Togo's epic run was undertaken for purely altruistic reasons. He and Sepala stood to gain little except the satisfaction of knowing they had saved lives. This element of selflessness underscores the best of human-animal partnerships, revealing a capacity for mutual aid that transcends simpler economic or survival calculations. Togo's success was predicated on trust, a bond so strong that Sepala literally staked his life on Togo's ability to navigate. Their relationship was an equal partnership in adversity, guided by loyalty, grit, and love. Countless dogs have followed in Togo's paw prints, some achieving feats that echo his remarkable journey. None, however, can replicate the singular context of the 1925 Serum run. The high stakes, the extreme conditions, and the desperate urgency that hinged on each passing hour. Togo's place in history remains unchallenged in that regard. His is a story that defies easy categorization, blending elements of adventure, crisis management, and heartfelt devotion into a single, indelible chapter in Alaska's past. That chapter grows more illuminating with each new wave of research and storytelling. Archival letters reveal how close Nome was to disaster, physicians anticipating a widespread die-off of children. Telegrams from Sepala detail frantic preparations, describing Togo's readiness and calm under pressure. The closer we look, the clearer Togo's pivotal role becomes, and the deeper our admiration grows for both the dog and the dedicated musher who trusted him unequivocally. In modern pop culture, Togo now joins the ranks of legendary animals who have influenced human history in ways large and small. Like the war horses of medieval Europe or the rescue dogs of contemporary disaster zones, Togo represents a bond that unites two very different species against a shared threat. In that bond lies an inspiring truth. Determination and empathy can transcend the usual boundaries, forging solutions where logic alone would falter. Outside the realm of race or crisis, Togo's experiences also speak to the day-to-day values we cultivate. His life reminds us that the path to heroism is often paved by preparation, small choices, and a willingness to persist when the outcome is uncertain. Had Togo not doggedly followed Sepala's sled in his youth, had he not insisted on proving himself, his talent might never have been discovered. In that stubborn spark of rebelliousness lay the seeds of greatness, eventually blossoming when Nome's children needed it most. As decades pass and technology redefines how we respond to emergencies, Togo's epic stand against the Arctic wilderness remains an example of stripped-down, primal fortitude. When advanced machinery fails or can't reach certain corners of the globe, the timeless synergy between human and dog can still prevail. Togo's run was not a relic of a bygone era. It was a demonstration that raw willpower, harnessed by skill and guided by trust, can surmount even the most formidable natural barriers. Historians who specialize in early 20th century Alaska see Togo's story as emblematic of a transitional period. The melding of indigenous wisdom with new settlers' ambitions, and the tension between older methods of travel and emerging technologies. Sled dogs occupied a special place in this mosaic, acting as a lifeline for communities scattered across a brutal landscape. Togo's exceptional leadership showcased just how vital these animals were, underscoring the synergy of man and dog in forging pathways of survival. Such synergy would be tested repeatedly as Alaska evolved. Roadways and airplanes eventually reduced the reliance on dog sleds for everyday transportation, but the memory of Togo and his counterparts kept the tradition alive, morphing it into a sport and cultural artifact celebrated worldwide. The Iditarod stands as the living descendant of that synergy, a race that channels the spirit of the Serum run while also paying tribute to the original heroes, Togo chief among them. In sum, Togo's narrative weaves together themes of courage, collaboration, and the reevaluation of historical perspective. Long overshadowed, he has emerged as a paragon of devotion and capability, reminding us that the greatest feats often transpire in the harshest conditions, far from the warmth of public accolades. His is a story of earned respect, not immediate applause, of a hero who ran without fanfare, purely because lives depended on it. In the end, Togo's journey through the frozen Alaskan expanse transcends the trappings of fame or fortune. His indomitable spirit, forged alongside Leonard Sapala, helped save an entire town's children, proving that unwavering resolve and mutual trust can surmount even nature's fiercest trials. Togo may not have initially garnered the headlines, but his legacy of selfless bravery shines through the decades, reminding us all that true heroism is defined not by the roar of applause, but by the triumph of compassion in humanity's darkest hours.